JJ Velasquez is a reporter for the Rivard Report. Scott Huddleston, a reporter for the San Antonio Express News. JJ, you have been writing extensively about the scooter companies trying to get the contract for the business in San Antonio. They're only giving contracts to 3 companies, right? They want to cut down on the number of scooters. Is that the reason for that?
Correct. And just to it would make for easier sort of administration and management around the scooters. The city officials, especially the ones in the Center City Development and Operations, which is the department that oversees the scooter share program, say that just having a smaller amount of companies to kind of deal with would make it so that if there's a scooter, parked incorrectly on the sidewalk, or if there are a number of scooters just knocked down haphazardly on the road, they can call that scooter because they built that relationship through this process.
Do you believe that only having 3 scooter companies will make it easier for the scooter companies to come up with rules and regulations to try to reduce people driving on sidewalks? I still see that happening. People cutting down on the speed. We're supposed to have speed limits on scooters. The additional regulations that there are going to be in scooters. Do you think that only having 3 companies, will they be chosen largely on the basis of their willingness to adhere to those rules?
Well, there are a number of factors in the RFP, the request for proposals that the city opened earlier this summer. And yes, adherence to policy is definitely one of those. However, I think they're also looking for companies that can come up with innovative approaches to handling some of these issues, but also bringing energy and a positive sort of feeling around the trend of scooters, and it is sort of a trend. You're seeing less and less people riding them these days. I think it's one of those things that people are now seeing as sort of a recreational activity, that more so than an actual commuter tool.
Scott, you have extensively covered the situation regarding the renovation of Alamo Plaza.
Right.
How serious is the lawsuit filed by the Native American groups over the proper reburial of remains? How serious is that toward potentially scuttling this entire project?
Well, I think that it is potentially very serious. The Top Palam Kawusakan Nation has argued that they are being basically cut out of the process of administering a human remains protocol, and that they have a right, because they are the direct descendants of the Mission people who lived there and were buried there, to be part of that, to determine if human remains are found, and they think that they will be found there at some point, what to do with them. And so what the state has done, the Alamo Trust, which has a state contract to oversee the Alamo, has a panel of experts from tribal nations that are federally recognized. But Top Palam is an indigenous community that is not federally recognized, although they did try for years to get that recognition. And they feel that they're basically being legislated out of the process because of the decision that the Alamo Trust has made just to use federally recognized tribal nations.
I'm old enough to remember back in 1984 when we tried this before, and this was the issue that scuttled the plan 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. How can they present this issue again without having that particular question resolved, since that was the question that scuttled the entire project back in the 90s?
Well, you think that we would have addressed this by now, but the fact that they want to build in the plaza and actually, go down, lower the level of the plaza by 18 to 24 inches, actually do excavation, and the sensitivity of dealing with local indigenous groups versus others in the region, that's really what's cropped up, and it's the local group that is taking the Alamo Trust to federal court.
And the Alamo mission was built to convert Native Americans to Catholicism. It seems logical that you would expect those Native Americans who did convert to be buried in the church grounds. It seems like they missed the boat in not understanding the importance of this issue until now.
It's very strange that this is happening because we just had our tricentennial in 2018, and we recently got World Heritage recognition for the mission. So there's a greater awareness and a consciousness and knowledge of the indigenous people who were here very first. So it's kind of bizarre to understand, why is this even happening?
Scott Huddleston is the county government reporter for the San Antonio Express News. JJ Rodriguez is a reporter for the Rivard Report. Thank you both for joining us. Out on the Conversation continues.